This is our June 19th Bowling Green Warren County Planning Commission meeting. Appreciate everybody being here tonight. There's Mr. Peterson. And Matthew, if you'd call the roll, please, sir.
Commissioner Drain?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Gay?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Graham? Commissioner Shaw?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Starks?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Vitale? Commissioner Volkert? Chair Warren?
Yes, sir. Commissioners, you have the minutes of our June the 5th meeting in your packets. Are there any questions regarding those minutes? All right, hearing none, we'll call for a motion, please.
So move. Second.
Commissioner Gay?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Shaw?
Abstain.
Commissioner Starks?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Drain?
Yes, sir.
Chair Warren?
Yes, sir. Commissioners, you have the subdivision site development plans in your packets. Are there any questions? All right, hearing none. Mr. Peterson, any new business?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. No old business?
Old business.
Yeah, all right. Mr. Hampmore, we are now entering into our public hearing. Would you administer the oath, please, sir?
Mr. Warren, I request that you order that the record tonight include all relevant statutory and regulatory provisions, the Commission's entire file for each application on tonight's docket, and the qualifications for each staff witness. And finally, I'd request that you administer the oath to those witnesses.
Swear to tell the truth?
Yes,
Thank you all very much. All right, we have one item tonight. 2025-32Z County, Lehman Avenue Church of Christ Incorporated, care of Barrett Hammer, has filed an application to rezone 10.18 acres located at 2750 Cumberland Trace Road from Ag to RM3 Townhouse Multifamily Residential with the General Development Plan. Ms. Hurt?
Thank you, Chair Warren. We had a pre-application meeting back in February for the property at 2750 Cumberland Trace Road. And this is the current aerial view of the property. And the property is currently zoned agriculture. And the current land use is agriculture. And the future land use designation is moderate density residential. And we have some property photos that we can reference as needed. And then we'll leave the concept plan up for reference as we go through the staff report. And the applicant has requested to rezone the property in order to construct a maximum of 104 multifamily residential units on the property. In our review of the application, we found that the proposal complies with the majority of the criteria assessed in the review process, and we found the proposal to be generally compatible with the surrounding area. We have a few items for your consideration, and the first of those begins on page 2 under layout, lot sizes, and setbacks. If you recall from the photos, there is an existing structure that is proposed to be demolished, and that would have to be done to accommodate the proposed development. Staff suggested that the applicants consider that salvageable materials be made available for Habitat for Humanity Restore or other similar nonprofit, and that the structure be made available to the local fire departments for training purposes. This was left unaddressed. However, I think after a brief discussion just a moment ago that this was an oversight. The applicant may want to speak to that in just a minute. Looking at transportation infrastructure, just below that, staff from the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet did review the proposal and determined that no improvements are required to accommodate the proposed development, though they did encourage that the developer construct a right turn lane into the development. This is also not currently addressed. Looking below that to prime farmland, we've noted that a majority of the property is classified as prime farmland. And then if you flip over to page 3 at the top, looking at the surrounding density, within 1,000 feet of the property, the average density is 3.51 dwelling units per acre, and the proposed density is 10.21 dwelling units per acre, which is more than 1.5 times the recommended density increase that is outlined in HN 1.2. Using that calculation, the maximum recommended density would be around 5.27 dwelling units per acre, and the Planning Commission should determine if the proposed density is appropriate in this location and if it is compatible with the surrounding area. And then last, looking down under proposed open space, also on page 3, the development plan conditions require that portions of the open space include amenities for the common use of the residents, such as a play area, grilling stations, or a dog park, though the locations of these amenities are not identified on the concept plan. Going back to page 1, you'll see that the staff recommendation is for approval, pending public hearing testimony and discussion. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Rachel. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Hurt before we hear from the applicant? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is the applicant here or the representative?
Ted Pardue, 1010 College Street, I swear to tell the truth.
Thank you, Ted.
Thank you, Chairman Warren. It's a pleasure being back before the commission this evening. It's good to see you all. I represent the applicant here, who is Lehman Avenue Church of Christ and Barrett Hammer. With me this evening are Mr. Hammer, as well as Roger Johnson. Roger's on staff at Lehman Avenue Church of Christ, as well as Jace Caldwell from Van Meter and Slavey Engineering. I'm not sure if Rachel mentioned this. There were a couple of things I just wanted to add to the items that she covered. When the Transportation Cabinet reviewed the proposed development, they did not require any transportation improvements, but I think the phrasing that they used was they encouraged a right turn lane, and I've spoken with Mr. Hammer. He'll be the one developing this property if it's approved. He is agreeable, and I can get him up here to confirm after the fact, to constructing a right turn lane. And I think that would probably be something that we would simply add to development plan condition number 1. And in addition, you heard Rachel speak to the fact that we left unaddressed the recommendation about donating salvageable materials to Habitat Restore or a similar nonprofit. That was simply an oversight, to be honest, and we're willing to include that as a development plan condition as well. So with those things, you have, I think according to the staff report, an application that meets just about every criteria under which it is to be reviewed, except for a more subjective question about density. And the comprehensive plan speaks in terms of looking at density from about a 1,000-foot radius in terms of comparing it to surrounding properties. I just want to point out that if you do expand that 1,000 feet and look to properties or developments within, say, a mile, mile and a half, 2 miles from this property, there are a multitude of multifamily residential developments that are blended in with the single family, the commercial, the institutional type uses that are in this area of Cumberland Trace and its surroundings. Just within probably 2,000 to 2,500 square feet, right behind the elementary school, there's a Cumberland Point townhome development that has, if I recall, about 36 units on about 2.8 acres. It's got a density of about 12 or 13 dwelling units per acre. Again, what's proposed here is less than that. If you go a mile and a half down Cumberland Trace Road, there's an apartment development on Middlebridge Stub Road. That's 22 units on 1.7 acres. That's a 13 dwelling unit per acre density. Again, what we're proposing is around 10. If you go down to the Drake, which is, I guess, down by the old Cumberland Trace Elementary School where they're building the Impact Center, that's about 11 dwelling units per acre. If you go over, literally just across the interstate to Mount Victor Old Town, that's about 24 dwelling units per acre. You have the Ewing Point Apartments, which is about, if you take by road, it's about a mile and a half from here. It's upwards of 21, 25, 26 dwelling units per acre. So I point those out to you all as a commission just to give you a frame of reference about what other densities exist in multifamily developments, again, in this general area. And we're talking about maybe a mile to a mile and a half radius. You all are probably familiar with Barrett. Barrett has developed a lot of property in Warren County, residential, multifamily residential. We've implemented a set of development plan conditions that will speak to building materials and other things to ensure that this development is a quality development and is an asset to this area on Cumberland Trace Road. So with that, I'll leave any comments, and I guess be happy to entertain any questions or concerns that you all might have as a commission.
So Ted, what about the open areas in that Ms. Hurt addressed in this development?
That's a good question. So in an RM3 zone, we're required to have a minimum of 20% open space. We committed to double that, which is 40%. And we've also committed to residential amenities and gave examples. The only thing we haven't done is specifically indicated on the concept plan where those would be, a picnic area, a dog park, et cetera.
But what have you agreed to? I don't think that's specifically laid out, or Rachel, correct me if I'm wrong.
The concern was more about just the location of the planned amenities.
Okay. Yeah.
Normally, they're shown on the concept plan so that a neighboring property owner may know, oh, they're planning a dog park behind my property, or this is going to be parking, or this is going to be a building. And so here we've got the building layout and the parking areas, but we just don't know the location of those planned amenities.
And that is based on design and development.
It really is. If we would have indicated on the concept plan, for instance, where we would locate the grilling stations or the dog park or the play area, it may not honestly be an accurate representation of where specifically those are going to be located until the property is developed.
Sure.
If there's a concern about a dog park in any particular area, I'm sure that Barrett would be glad to take that in consideration and maybe rule out certain areas of the property where there might be a dog park, if there is going to be a dog park. Okay. We left open, we gave, at least 3 different types of amenities that were sort of being considered. But again, the precise location and he and I spoke about that. It's just really difficult to do in terms of at this stage of the process.
I understand. Yeah, thank you, Ted. Commissioners, Ted, anything else?
That's it, other than at some point I do need to get Mr. Hammer on the record to agree.
For the right turn lane.
Yes, sir. And and donating the salvageable materials from the old house.
All right. Commissioners, any other questions for Mr. Pardue, representing the applicant?
Tad, I have one, Tad.
Yes, sir.
As far as aesthetics, the new development, would it be I know it's a multifamily, but it's going to be in close proximity to a residential area. Are the aesthetics associated with the new development complement the existing residential areas that are there?
So what we've agreed to both on the concept plan and the development plan conditions are that the buildings, and you'll see they appear differently on the concept plan. The 12 structures that are on the concept plan that are sort of in the rear and to the west boundary.
Right.
Those are 4 unit structures. The others are 8. The idea there being you have your smaller, sort of less dense structures adjacent to the single family. I know that Barrett he would like to explore even just a 1-story product there. The DPCs do permit 2 stories throughout, but he would like to explore 1 story back in there. And again, I know that the houses to the rear on Denver, it's just the Circle Drive and Carter Crossings, I looked at those recently. Most of those, if they're not 2 stories, they have a bonus room on the second floor. So you're not going to have a drastic difference in terms of building height. You're going to have a less dense product, multifamily housing in that area of the property. And then the Cumberland Circle, which is the more established neighborhood to the west, there is a pretty dense tree line and vegetative buffer there. This time of year, it's as that buffer exists, it's pretty difficult for those houses to even see to the other side of the property line.
So, and Tad, your client has agreed to 80% brick, stone, or modern masonry materials, which is compatible with most everything in the Carter Crossings neighborhood.
That's
Is that
correct, and there's additional language in there about a consistent design and color scheme, so that,
And he will be the single owner, is that correct?
okay.
I'm sorry, what?
We don't know yet. We did include the language about everything being consistent in terms of design and color scheme. Barrett's unsure at this point, and I'll tell the commission, in terms of his timeline, he doesn't really have a timeline.
I understand, but, you know, we've had this question before, that where there's multiple owners, and not just from day one, but 5 years down the road, is it going to be
Piecemeal.
upkept? Yes, piecemeal.
It's single ownership.
Is single ownership in the,
Just single management.
Yeah.
But not single ownership.
but if it's managed by a single entity, that single entity will handle all the maintenance. So,
Barrett, why don't you come up to the microphone and let's get your name and address, Barrett. And
Barrett Hammer, 745 Carter Sims Road. I swear to
all
tell
right,
the truth.
thank you, Barrett.
So it would be single ownership for the 8-plex buildings, and it may be single ownership for all the other 4-plexes, but we would like the opportunity that if we wanted to condo the 4-unit buildings and sell to an individual owner, we could do that. However, the grounds, the management of the grounds, the management of the exteriors would still all be managed by the single, we wouldn't have multiple people in there mowing the yards, that type thing. So
Okay.
it just gives a different product available that a homeowner can purchase, a single unit versus it being for rent, so.
Okay. So is your intent that there will not be, other than you being the managing partner, no rentals?
No, they would be for rent, but if we did sell off, let's say one of the 4-plex,
To
Units.
somebody, a investor?
an investor or a homeowner who wanted to live there and make that their primary residence, we would like the ability to do that later on.
Gotcha. Okay.
With the intention of it all being managed though, by the same
Yeah.
person. The
Okay.
grounds, the exteriors, the roofs.
Just clarifying that, because we've run into this before.
Absolutely.
And you understand.
Yes, correct.
All right, thank you. Ted, anything else you would
Barrett,
like?
you want to get on the record?
Well, let's hear from the audience first, and then we'll call Barrett back up.
That'd be fine.
Is there anyone in the audience tonight that has questions regarding or opposition to this request, or anything you would like to add? Yes, sir, or either one of you that wants to come to the microphone first, please? Either one of you. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a couple of questions.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Your name and address, please?
My name is Virginia Griffin, and I live at 548 Denver Circle.
Okay, Virginia, do you swear to tell the truth?
I do.
Okay. We just have to swear.
I swear to ask the truth.
All right, Virginia, thank you very much.
All of the 12 units are going to be single story?
No.
Barrett, you need to come back up to the microphone, because this is being recorded, just so everybody can hear you.
Stood that up.
So my intention is to probably do some one-story units in addition to some two-story units, just to mix it up a little bit and make it more aesthetically pleasing. So some would have garages, 2 stories, some may be one story with no garages, that type of thing.
Virginia, come back up, Mike.
At the back of my property line, there's a farm fence. And I know, and that's, so from that fence, there's a 10-foot buffer zone? Is that,
Yes, that's the minimum required by the ordinance.
okay. Will that farm fence come down? Or will it not come down?
What was the answer, Jace?
It's right on the line.
So to answer Virginia's question, what's the response?
I think he said it would likely stay, is that correct? Yeah, it is on the line.
If I wanted to put up a different fence, how would I go about doing that if it's right on the line?
You would need to construct it on your property.
So is the rule on that like 3 inches or?
There's not a setback requirement for a fence, unless there's some sort of drainage easement or utility easement or something that would interfere with that, but you'd be permitted to build a fence right up to your property line if you wanted to do that.
I had another question. I can't think of what it is right now, so.
It's all right. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. Yes, sir, you had comment or questions? Yes, sir, that's fine. That's why you're here.
John Stewart, 238 Cumberland Circle.
Yes, sir, John.
I was much like her on the fence, and I live beside Jay, so they should have an easy answer on this. I think it was even mentioned about the foliage or the growth in that fence row providing some privacy from the Cumberland Circle houses, and that was my confirmation. I just want to make sure it was going to be left alone because this time of year, it does provide a natural privacy fence. And I'm not even sure if that's on the developed property or how that works. Maybe they can clarify that.
You live in Cumberland Trace
Cumberland Circle.
Circle. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Yeah, the DPC,
Ted, would you talk in the microphone
Sure,
just so it's
I
recorded?
will, sorry. The development plan condition requires what we refer to as a 10-foot do not disturb. The only thing that DPC allows to be removed is anything dead or dying.
Okay.
So,
Does that answer your question?
That was the primary, and I think y'all have already answered the others. I don't know if this is the right form to ask, but it mentioned the density and the traffic and how the highway department had felt like it would be okay. The other concern was traffic, and we don't want it to be the next Three Springs Road.
Yes, sir.
You've got the innovate, all these different things that are going on right now there.
And Mr. Peterson, just to answer, there is in our long-term plan to correct Cumberland Trace. We don't know exactly when it is.
Can't think of anything specific to Cumberland Trace except down towards the Scottsville Road
Okay.
intersection and
Okay.
potentially creating a different way to relieve that intersection congestion.
Okay.
But certainly as Cumberland Trace becomes more congested, it'll be looked at to be widened or some other,
Whenever it is.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for being here. Anybody else in the audience tonight? Anything else from the applicants? Ted, if you would call Barrett up here to agree to the right turn lane and the salvageable materials.
yes, sir. Barrett, you're under oath. You heard the statements earlier. Will you agree to add a provision to develop plan condition 1 that requires you to install a right turn lane into the property on Cumberland Trace Road?
I will.
And in addition to that, a developed plan condition that would require you, when the existing home is demolished, to donate any salvageable materials to Habitat for Humanity Restore or a similar nonprofit.
Yes, that's correct, I will.
Tad, where do you intend the donation of materials to go?
We'll make that Develop Plan Condition 12.
New number 12?
Yes, sir.
And the right turn will go at
It's
the
part of
end
number
part
one.
one?
Yes, sir.
Number one. Do you intend to make any amendment to DPC number 10 with regard to single ownership?
I don't believe so.
Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, we've heard this request. Would call for a motion, please.
I make the motion to approve the proposed zoning map amendment together with and conditioned upon the general development plan docket number 2025-32 Z County. Based upon the testimony and documents presented in this public hearing, the proposed zoning map amendment is consistent with the adopted Focus 2030 comprehensive plan as demonstrated by its compliance with the objectives and action items presented in the staff report. Therefore, the proposed zoning map amendment is in agreement with the adopted comprehensive plan. Further, I request that this motion include the summary of evidence and testimony presented by the witnesses at this public hearing.
Second.
Commissioner Drain,
Yes.
Commissioner Gay,
Yes.
Commissioner Shaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Starks,
Yes.
Chair Warren.
Yes, sir. The motion is approved as Planning Commission final action in 21 days unless a request is made to the legislative body to hear the item. Mr. Peterson, no discussion items. Matthew, do we have a quorum for July the 3rd?
I believe so at this point, yes.
Okay, I think we have 3 items. That, 4? Okay,
items.
all right, 3 or 4. And we appreciate everybody being here tonight. All those in the audience that came, thank you for your comments, Virginia. And we stand adjourned, and we'll see you in a couple weeks.